Hi, everybody. Happy almost May. Is it almost May? Yeah, to check my calendar. Wow, it feels like I have not seen you forever. I know that I didn't really do much for April, and that was by design, at least here on YouTube. I have been active, just in other ways and on other platforms, but it feels like it's been forever since I have sat down to record a video to share with you. And I have to say that despite all of the changes and despite all of the chaos and upheaval that I am experiencing personally and that I think the world is experiencing collectively, the one thing that I have had over the past 10 years has been this connection to you, through my laptop, through the digital media that we have become so comfortable with and so familiar with, and it's been a lifeline. And so first of all, I just want to say thank you. Whether you have been paying attention and listening to me for a minute or for 10 years, most of you fall somewhere in between on that spectrum. I just want to say thank you. I really, from the bottom of my heart, cannot thank you enough. I am so grateful for your support. I am so grateful for your love. I am so grateful for your continuing to show up and see what I have to say and see what I have to share, despite all of the comings and goings and ups and downs and stops and starts. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if you realize the depth to which this has been so meaningful for me, this connection. And even though the majority of you I have never seen in the flesh, the majority of you I have never even engaged with other than you watching me, thank you. It has meant so much for me. And it has been that consistent thing that has kept me on the path, that has kept me moving forward. And I don't want to be dramatic about it, but I can say that many months without the understanding or the belief that you were sitting there waiting or expecting something from me, there would have been plenty of times that I just kind of would have been lost, spinning in the wind. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And although things are changing and are going to continue to change, and that's what this video is about, I'm going to share with you some personal updates. None of it is complete, right? It's all a work in progress. Everything's in process. We're in this constant state of becoming. And I also wanted to stop and take a moment to share with you where I am, and without any real understanding or expectation of what that even means. What I am sure of is things are changing. Things are not what they have been. Things are, it's hard to describe. I've never been in this place before. That's the clearest I can be, is that I've just never been in this space before. Yes, I'm familiar with change. Yes, I am familiar with the unknown. And I am one of those people that is fairly comfortable dancing with it to a degree. And the past few months, especially since December 2022, which seems like a lifetime ago, but that was 5-6 months ago. That was when I really began to see, oh, okay. This isn't just a moment. This isn't just a phase. This is a door closing behind me while the door before me is opening. And up until recently, I would say January, February, March, most of April, the past 4 months, I have been in that in between. I have been in the vestibule, right? The corridor between the door that I was coming out of that is closing behind me as I'm moving into the door that's before me and about to, grab that handle and open it. But I haven't been in either place. I've had a foot in two worlds. And in many ways, it has felt like, well, I don't have a space right now. I don't have a sense of clarity right now. I don't have an understanding of what it is that Spirit is asking of me, what it is that I am moving towards. And rather than fight that, the past couple of months has seen me getting really, really comfortable with the unknown, with change, with trying, with experimenting, with seeing what feels right. It's been a Goldilocks moment. And I was talking a lot about this last year when people were asking me, what do you think 2023 is going to be about? Excuse me. And the consistent thing that I kept coming back with was 2021 and 2022. Were the years when we begin to ask the questions. What else is possible? Is this how it has to be? We've been told for the past several hundred years that this is just what it means to be a human, and this is the way you do it, and this is how it works. And many of us I would say most of us in some way were asking the questions, well, is that real? Is it true? Does it have to be like that? And I don't know if I believe you. And I think for just the purposes of simplicity, what I saw was people kind of falling into two camps. Because as we were asking those questions of, does it have to be like this? Is this just a momentary shift and then we're going to go back to the way it was? I think that people fell into kind of one or two camps. There was one camp that said, nope, absolutely, it's not changing. 21 and 22 were just blips. It was an anomaly. It was just this crisis. And now we're getting back to business as usual. And people deliberately denying the change in their lives, people deliberately doubling down on the way it has been and the way they want it to continue to be. And there's no right or wrong there. That's a choice. And I understand, because in my own way, I was trying to find something that was sustainable and consistent and familiar. And I was trying like hell to hang on to something that wanted to go. And there was another camp, and that is the camp of people who are willing to see what else is possible. That is the camp of people who are saying, wow, that was intense. Wow, I am totally uncertain. Wow, I feel like I'm untethered and kind of just swinging in the wind, but here I am, and I'm going to continue to allow myself to experiment, to explore, to be curious, and to see. And I get it, right? There's 8 billion of us on this planet, humans at least. And it's next to impossible to categorize 8 billion people into two sort of groups of people. But for the sake of simplicity and for the sake of my understanding, that's what I see. Of course, there are nuances. Of course, there are gray areas. Of course, there are the subtleties that are lost when we really try to simplify things from that perspective. And yet here we are. And so for me, 21 and 22 were the years that we were asking these questions. Is there another way to live? Is there another way to be? And 2023 is the year where we begin to see in real physical day-to-day life, what do those changes mean? What does it mean to live in another way? What does it mean to move on to something new? What does it mean to allow myself to say, okay, Spirit, if this is done, it's done. Thy will be done. If this wants to collapse, I'm going to let it. If this is ready to break, then I need to let it. If it's time for me to release and surrender and just let it all go, then I'm going to allow it. And to stop fighting and to stop struggling and to allow ourselves to be carried, even if it felt scary and we didn't know where we were going. In 2023, as I'm recording this, we're in the midst of the eclipse season. We're also in the midst of some massive, massive astrological alignments that are really, really potent and really, really powerful. And I was alluding to those as well, along with a lot of actually very adept astrologers, of which I am not one. I'm a tourist a bit when it comes to astrology, but I pay attention. Anyway, my point here is I'm sitting down to record this video to keep you up to date on what's going on with me. And I know that for many of you, it's been a bit unsettling to see me kind of pulling back and shifting and changing the way I do things. And what I know is that the way I've been doing things for the past 10 years, as wonderful as it's been, cannot continue anymore because it's time for me to move on. And Spirit has been nudging me towards the exit for quite some time. And as much as I would love to say, oh yeah, freewheel and just go with the flow, that is not true at all. I have been digging my heels in. I have been resisting. I have been trying like hell in many ways to stop the change, to kind of force things to be how they have been because it's just comfortable and it's familiar. And I understand what it is to wake up in a life and go, wow, this is what I wanted for a long time. And this was great for a long time. But it's not serving me anymore. And if it's not serving me, I know that it's not serving you. At least not in the way that I am being asked to step forward in service now. So what I'm going to share with you in this video, I have some stuff that I've written down, and I'm just going to read that to you. And the big picture is, I don't know what this means for my day-to-day practice. I'll still be offering my services, my tarot card readings, and my energy balancing sessions. I'm still going to be offering monthly content, though it won't be on YouTube. Now I'm moving to Insight Timer. At least that's what I'm currently experimenting with. If you're interested in finding out more and staying connected to how I'm sharing and where and what, you can sign up for my newsletter because my presence on YouTube is going to continue to diminish. I'm going to keep this channel active as an archive, but my relationship with YouTube is not one that serves me. I really feel like more and more that I had created a model where I was working for YouTube. YouTube is not my boss, and I never wanted it to be that way. So moving back and sort of redirecting myself, working with Insight Timer, working with my online community, still offering readings and private sessions, still doing courses and workshops and gatherings. But in terms of my monthly content on YouTube, that is coming to a close. This very well may be the last video that I record specifically for YouTube. I will continue to post my podcast episodes here whenever they're recorded. But the model of every month, there's a couple of videos for the energy updates and the tarot and whatever, that is going to end, at least through YouTube. So I don't have any definitive answers as if to say, okay, as of May 1st, this is what's happening. This is just me stepping forward to share with you in the way that I have, because that has been the consistent thread. That has been the thing that I have always known was part of this process, was for me to show up and share as openly as I can, just as an example of someone who is going through their own growth, their own process, their own evolution. That's life, right? Life is not a static thing. Life is not about 2 and 2 equals 4. Life is to be lived. And if we don't live life, it's going to live us. Because one way or another, it's a force. It's unstoppable. It's like a river. You can only hold it back for so long. The water is going to find a way to get to where it needs to go. And the life force, the creative force, the energy that moves through me, that lights me up, that is that divine spark, has been asking for more. And as excited as I have been to offer more, and as excited as I have been to move into new spaces, it's a different thing to think about it, to talk about it, to dream about it, than it is to live it and actually do it. And I'm in the process of living and actually doing that. And I think for me, because the past 10 years have been so stable, and the formula and the routine and the pattern that I have established with you has been a touchstone. It's been a source of comfort. It's been a source of clarity, right? It's been the GPS saying, nope, just keep going forward. Just keep going forward, keep going forward. And I like it. I love this community. I love being connected with you. I love the sense of we can sit down in a circle, virtual, yeah, but a circle nonetheless, and share and connect and communicate and open our hearts and our minds to one another and find comfort and support and grace and the fact that we're not the only one. And so my practice isn't ending. I'm not vacating my practice. I'm not forsaking you. I'm just being called to move on. I'm being called to move into less virtual, more actual, less me sitting in front of a screen talking into a computer, and more face-to-face, real-time, hands in the dirt, hands in the clay, actually doing the creating and engaging with you live and in person and in the flesh. So I'm going to read to you some things that I have written. I'm going to share with you what I know, and we'll see where that takes us. And again, if you're interested in following more closely and you want to continue to see what events I'm offering, what courses and all of that, you can follow me. Go to my website, amar.energy. You can sign up for my newsletter there. Follow me on Insight Timer if you're not aware of Insight Timer. It's a wonderful app that has a lot of guided meditations, healings, courses, live events. It's an app that you subscribe. There's a monthly subscription fee. A lot of my content on there is free. And that's where I am going to continue to share in whatever way I share for the time being. I mean, the key is, and this has always been the way, just don't get too attached. And I know that that can be hard. When someone or something has been a source of guidance or stability or clarity, or you perceive that it has been, I'm not the source of anything other than just remembrance. Anything that you connect with that comes through me that you go, oh yes, that was amazing. That's just you responding to the resonance of truth that exists within you. So my job really is just to remind you of what you already are, what you have always been. And I am nothing that you are not. I'm just the one that serves as an example for that in the hopes that I can trigger a remembrance within you. So I've got some stuff here that I'm going to read to you. So when you see me referring to, looking over here, I'm just reading. Actually, maybe I'll just move it in front. Anyway, we'll figure it out. Here I am thinking out loud, creating on the fly. I would say don't expect consistent content from me here on YouTube anymore, because this, like I said, this very well may be the last video that I specifically record to share on YouTube. And you can find me on Insight Timer, and that's really the best place to find me. And sign up for my newsletter, and you will stay connected with what I have offering over the next couple of months. And I don't know why. I don't know why I'm resisting reading this to you. I think because this in many ways feels like a farewell. And that's what I have been resisting. There's been a part of me, a large part of me, that is so comfortable and content with the way things have been. And if I gave him his preference, we would continue to do what I have done for the past 10 years for the next 40 years. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, there's a part of me that would love nothing more than just to continue to do things the way that I've done them and to settle for that. But I didn't come here to settle. And as one who is the vessel for the light, one who steps forward in service, one who is here to live as an example, I have to follow the beat of my own drum. I have to follow the call and the nudge of that energy as it moves through me and says, no, honey, we're going here. So that's what I'm going to read to you today. That's what I'm going to share with you. And I will be done. So the title of this is The Dream Hasn't Changed. Back in 2012, when my awakening went into overdrive, the course of my life changed dramatically. Over the next 10 years, I experienced things that blew my mind. I swam through the deepest, darkest parts of the shadow. I journeyed to the highest, purest, most breathtaking aspects of the light. It was unlike anything I'd experienced in this life thus far. It was wonderful and amazing. It was also awful and horrible. And for the most part, I would not change a thing. I am no stranger to chaos and change. They have been the building blocks of most of my existence. I've never been one to sit idly by and just let life happen, often to my detriment. Patience, allowance, and flexibility were states of being that I often disregarded. I always wanted it when I wanted it, how I wanted it, and left little room for anything else. I was a little bit of a tyrant. It took me a long time to surrender to my higher will. I often think how exhausted and worn out my guides and helpers for this lifetime must be. I know I have put them through the ringer. Many times I have often wondered if the choice for these beings to be my guide for this lifetime was kind of like their final exam. It was sort of like their final act of service before they evolved and moved on into a new state of being. But I digress. One of my greatest gifts, and also one of my greatest teachers, is the ironclad will that I was born with. The ability to focus on a singular goal to the exclusion of almost everything else has both propelled me forward and held me back. I have often spoken about having moved more than 40 times and having had at least 30 jobs in this lifetime. At first glance, you would think that my relationship with change is a comfortable one. I have played the role of the peripatetic free spirit to a T. I am no stranger to the concept of throwing myself off the cliff and learning how to fly on the way down. The truth is that beneath the veneer of the wandering free spirit is a very real thirst for permanence. All I have ever wanted is to put down roots and build something that would serve as a legacy for this lifetime. Beneath the fiercely independent spirit is a burning desire for deep, intimate connection. It seems I have always been searching to be a part of something that I feel is valuable and meaningful. Through my practice, I have found much of this. The relationships I have built and the transformative inner work I have been privileged to witness by the brave souls that I have had the honor of working with. It has been some of the most powerful and rewarding experience of my life. Of any life. So when the energies of even bigger change came knocking on my door around 2020, I think that's when most of us begin to feel this massive tectonic shift, you'd probably be surprised to know that I fought it tooth and nail. I didn't want it. I realize now that the limited self mostly just wants to unplug and go back to sleep. No matter what, there's a part of me that has always just been looking for the time when I could just take my bra off, kick off my shoes, kick back, and just go back to being unconscious. It's a fine line between finding routine and stability through my work and turning it into another mindless formula that doesn't require me to be conscious or present. From the beginning, I have known and I have been shown over and over and over again, that the big dream for this life is what I have come to call the living temple. The vision is to create heaven on earth. The vision is a physical location that is the material manifestation of the inner work that I have been doing and sharing. A place where I am working co-creatively with universal natural law. A place where I am not trying to tame or force nature and her kingdoms to bend to my vision and my will. I'm not trying to put her in a box. But a relationship that is cooperative and building interdependent relationships. It's about being in a triadic partnership with self and spirit. There's self, there's spirit, and then there is Amar as the vessel. That is the triad. To embody and uphold the purity of these concepts and bring them into the physical plane. The chaos that has been dancing its way through my life over the past few months has been unrelenting. It has been tenacious in its insistence that I continue to grow and expand in concert with the ancient rhythms and cycles that govern all things. I thought the past 10 years were simply about me building my practice. In large part they were, but what I didn't see was that creating my practice was not the end. The past 10 years were my initiation into living a life of service. My practice is the foundation of this dream, not the realization of the dream itself. Over the past year or so, my practice has been showing me that it was time to evolve. Subscribers, bookings, views, and engagement have all bottomed out. It has never been only about the numbers for me, yet I would be foolish not to heed the message that this objective data provides. This is more than an ebb or a contraction. This has been my practice essentially pushing me out of the nest. The dwindling numbers only reflect the fact that my creative energy has long moved on, and it's only been patiently waiting for me to figure it out. It's like the party was over, and I was the last one in the room, and it just took me a minute to come to that realization. I recently watched a video from a fellow entrepreneur that struck a very deep chord. He was speaking about uncovering the soul's desire and passions. He was talking about finding your purpose. And this video was aimed at those who perhaps had no idea of what their purpose was or what their passions were. And he posed a very simple question. He said, what is the most exciting and rewarding part of your day? Out of all of the things you do, what are the things that you most look forward to? When I sat and genuinely considered this question, what I realized was that the things that were really lighting me up had very little to do with the function of my day-to-day practice. It was a hard realization to accept that there's no juice left in that fruit. I'm still here. I am not abandoning my practice. It's simply an evolution. And again, if I let this part of me have its way, I would continue to do the same things that I've done for the past 10 years. All of the incredible experiences I have had traversing my inner landscape and my energetic spheres are starting to emerge into the external world. It's as if the inner cup has become so full, it's begun to spill over and flow out into the physical reality. I am moving from a primarily virtual, abstract experience into a corporeal, tangible one. The details of this dream have shifted over the years. They have grown and expanded and moved in new directions, but the core of this dream has not changed. So what is the dream exactly? That's a really good question. And I'm going to have a sip of coffee and then I'm going to answer it for you. You know I love a beverage. So what is the dream exactly? There are a lot of aspects to it. It is the physical embodiment of the values and beliefs that I have claimed. Spirit is essentially asking me to start walking the talk. Spirit is essentially asking me to start walking the talk that I have been professing for the past 10 or so years. The living temple, as I have come to call it, serves as an example of what is possible when we work cooperatively with each other, with the planet, and with the benevolent forces that are here to co-create with humanity. The living temple is a home. It's an event center. It's a place of hospitality, of connection, of learning and gathering. It is a place where people come to remember the truth that they are the creator of their world. Whether for a class, a workshop, a meeting, a meal, or a weekend away, the living temple operates as a mean to reconnect you with your sovereign self. During the global lockdown, it became clear that the monolithic systems and institutions that operated as a means to provide humans with what they need are incapable of that. Whether by design or by fault, the wheels have come off and those systems are no longer functional. There are people upon this planet who don't understand the connection between a tomato and a bottle of ketchup. There are people on this planet who have no understanding of the relationship between the cow that they see in the field and the milk that is in their refrigerator. There are countless individuals who, without external systems, have no idea how to care for themselves, their loved ones, or their communities. It does not have to be like this. The core values that are embodied in the living temple are quite simple. No doubt the value system will also continue to morph and expand. However, the core of it is pretty clear. These are the values that really are woven into the idea of the living temple. We honor the connectedness of all life. Nothing happens in a vacuum. In a coherent, generative reality, every choice, every ripple affects the all. Do the best you can to leave things in better shape than they were when you got there. Happiness is a choice. It is possible to learn and grow through joy and fulfillment. There is no universal law that says to be human means you must be miserable and broken. Life does not have to be a slog. We see ownership of land as official stewardship. The land isn't mine in that it belongs to me. It is a gift from the planet, and it is my job, it is our job to care for that land as a conscious aspect of spirit. It is a living, breathing being to be nurtured and cultivated, not stripped and depleted. We accept our role as the sovereign creator of our experience. We understand the power of deliberate intention. And we also know that gathering in a group with a shared intention magnifies the power. So for anyone who's familiar with the emotional architecture, you know how much I love that tool. And being a lover of words and language that I am, several months ago, I did an emotional architecture, put together kind of a list of ideas or a list of words from a feeling, energy, and experiential standpoint that really embodied and gave me kind of a framework for what the temple is. Now, it just so happened to become an alliterative list, and what I mean by that is you'll hear all of the words begin with H, and I don't know how that happened, but it just did. So these words represent at least a part of the emotional, experiential, and energetic framework that serves as a guide for this project, and like all things, it is a living thing, so no doubt it will continue to grow and evolve. Horticulture. Our ancestors knew how to work with the land. It is possible to get what we need without destroying the planet in the process. This is a return to farming and gardening methods that make the well-being and the planet of all of its inhabitants a priority. Homemaking. Being the mega Virgo that I am, I love taking care of other people. Building a home is one of my greatest joys. The living temple, is first and foremost a home built upon love. Hospitality. Be kind. Be generous. Be compassionate. Welcome those who we can support with open arms. Healing. Humans are not built to be in a constant state of illness or dysfunction. So much of our modern approach to healing simply creates more problems down the line. It doesn't have to be this way. Health should not be a means to endless profit. Herbalism. Nature gives us so much of what we need. Our grandparents and their grandparents knew this. It is possible to grow much of the medicine we need in a flower bed or a garden. I remember this. Oh, you have a toothache? Go out and pick some of this plant and chew on it. Oh, you have a tummy ache? Go out and pick some of these flowers. We're going to dry them and make a tea. Heart-centered. Lead with the heart and let the head be your assistant. Healthy. Well-being can be a way of life. I want you to hear this one. Well-being can be a way of life. Not just a temporary stop in between bouts of illness and sickness. We were not made to always be in a state of disease. Happy It is possible to live a life where you look forward to the day rather than dreading it. Hope. This is key. There is no other world, but there is another way to live. And the living temple is proof of that. Believing is seeing. Hope is the primary fuel for this energy. And not mindless hope in like, oh, I hope that there's going to be the thing I want. No, hope in terms of the shining light at the end of the tunnel where you say, I know that there is another way. I feel it in my gut, and I am not going to abandon that belief. Hub. The living temple is a meeting place for open-hearted beings of all kinds. Not only our human collaborators, not only our animal friends, but for our interdimensional and intergalactic families as well. Humane. Is it kind? Is it compassionate? Does it improve the quality, the overall experience for all? It won't always be possible, but that is the goal. Haven. A safe place, a respite, a home, an oasis, a place to restore, recharge, and remember. Really what this has been for me, and I've been talking a lot about this, and it's so funny because so many of the things that I share through my videos and through my work and through my offerings, so many of the things that come through me, I often don't even really understand what they mean, at least not in the larger sense. And I've been talking a lot over the past few years about just find the things you love and do them. Find the things that light you up and do them. Find the things that you are just so jazzed about that you would do them no matter what. Even if you weren't getting paid, even if it cost you money, you would do it. You're going to find a way to do it because you love it so much. And that's really where I have focused over the past couple of years. I took the flower farming course. I've gotten back into my art. I've really gone ham on my baking and cooking. I've always been a great cook. I've always been a great baker, but I have really dove into finding more technique and refining my methods and challenging myself to learn new skills. I've learned how to preserve my food, how to ferment my food, how to pickle, and I'm working on learning how to can. I've learned how to garden and to farm. My goal in the next 3 to 5 years is to get to the point where I don't have to go to the grocery store because I'm a part of a community and I have the flowers and the fruit and the vegetables and you have the eggs and you have the dairy or whatever, right? So it's about a community coming together and saying we can support one another. We don't need the middleman of big business or government or corporations in the way, because their intentions are not always altruistic. I don't know what that company or what that manufacturer put in that medicine or that food, but I know down the road who so-and-so grew because I watch them and their farming methods are regenerative. Their farming methods are kind and compassionate to the planet and other living things. So I can trust that there's no stanky, weird chemicals in there that are going to make me sick. This is what it's all about. Finding the vision that lights you up and figuring out a way to begin to call that into your reality. And for me, this vision that I had just kept getting bigger and bigger. And I thought, how can I serve this? And I thought, well, the vision is always one of me being joyful and happy and connected and satisfied and fulfilled. So if that's the emotional architecture for this vision, then I can start finding happy and satisfied and fulfilled now. I don't have to wait for this, acreage, for this farm, for this center to exist. I can start living that way now. And how do I do it? By finding things that light me up and doing them as often as I can. I spent a ton of money on flowers and vegetables and equipment to plant and garden and farm. And I loved that I spent all that money and I didn't get anything financially in return, but what I got was experience, was wisdom, and the joy of being connected, the joy of watching these flowers blossom and watching the bees and the birds and the butterflies, love them and creating this ecosystem, this little corner of paradise. I loved being able to go out and pick my lunch and my breakfast from the garden. I loved that I would sit down and eat a meal and 99% of what was on my plate was something I had grown or made myself. My God, that lit me up. That fulfilled me and satisfied me in ways that I had no idea. And so I just kept doing it because it felt good and it was exciting and it was rewarding. And the more I did it, the bigger it got. And the more I started to see possibility and the more I started to see potential. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. I didn't know where or who, but I knew why. Why? Because it feels like the kind of life that I want to live. It feels like the kind of world that I want to wake up in. It feels like the kind of reality that I want to actively create. And in order to be allegiant to that vision, I had to begin to let go of the things that didn't feel like that anymore. And it's not because they were bad or they were wrong. It's just everything has its season. Everything has its time. And when it's done, it's done. And for me, it was a huge question of trust. Do I trust self? Do I trust spirit? Do I trust me to know what is good for me? What is not great for me? What feels like what I want and what doesn't? And can I trust that the universe isn't calling me forward just to disappoint me? The universe wants me to move on so that I can have all the things that I've been asking for, so that I can live that life in real time and really experience it. But I had to let some stuff go. So that's what I've been doing. And again, I couldn't have done it without you. It's been an amazing journey that we've shared over the years. And I don't know what this means really in the day-to-day. For the time being, my calendar is still open and I'm still accepting clients. For the time being, I'm still going to continue to step forward and have some sort of offering. Right now, it happens to be on Insight Timer. And that's what I know. That's where I am. So I'll say, if any of this is interesting or meaningful to you, if any of this strikes a chord or lights you up, let me know. I'm not going to be able to do this on my own. I don't currently have the financial resources to, procure 5 to 20 acres, but I have the skills. And I have the vision, and I have the passion, and I have the drive. So what I'm looking for now are architects. What I'm looking for now are builders. What I'm looking for now are people who want to come together and join me in service of this vision. And if you think that's you, then reach out and let's chat. I don't know where it leads. I don't know where we're going, but I know what the ultimate goal is. And I know what the vision is. And most importantly, I know the why. Why? Because it feels like the life that I came here to live. And I refuse to accept anything less. Only lover above, baby. That's where we're going. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for your love and your support and your kindness. Whether it was an email, whether it was a booking, whether it was a donation, whether it was just you sitting there wishing me well, it all is meaningful. So stick around. Let's see where we go. Let's see what's next. But I promise you, by the end of the year, you are going to see me on that property, in that place, actively bringing this vision into form. And I hope the same is true for you. I hope from the bottom of my heart that whatever it is that lights you up, that makes your body and your heart and your soul sing, whatever that is, my wish for you is that it becomes a reality. And I know that it can. I'm living proof. You just have to be willing to let everything else go. Mwah. I love you. Talk to you soon.